Ladies and gentle ladies, Tim just freaked out because he's making noise. Welcome to the show tonight. I am Daniel Brown. This is You, Me, and BTC episode number 180. We got another digit up in the tens place there, so that's always fun. Got to celebrate that. Thanks for being with us tonight, anyone that's out there. We're going to have a blast. We got tons of great stuff, and I will go through it in a moment. But first, what's up, Tim? How's it going?
What's up? You started and it immediately just like jumbled up and fucked up. So I ran and plugged my internet in and almost slipped on my hardwood floor. So,
all right,
everybody out there, I almost broke my neck for you.
If only. If only. All right, guys, I'm going to turn on my screen share and show you the place to be. This is You, Me, and BTC.com/live. You got the video there. You got the chat there. Thanks for joining us, NY Cartoons, one of our regulars. Glad to have you back for another Thursday night. You got our show notes and our headline. We're going to cover, holy crap, an Ethereum flash crash as low as 10 cents. Holy crap. We're going to explain why it happened and what's going to happen next, or at least what we think. Whenever we predict stuff on this show, it's never take it seriously. But we're going to tell you what we think is going to happen next. Also got another regular 21 million club in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Also, next, the other topic we'll cover is SegWit2x via NYA. That's right, guys. Apparently, theoretically, supposedly, there's an agreement. So 80% is the number we hit and the number we needed. We will see where that ends up. All of our links are here if you wanna click any of those to some of the stories we'll cover. Oh, geez, Patreon. Why don't I mention that? I gotta mention that more often because it is without a doubt pretty much the best way that you can support us. So that's right there. If you want to click that or go to you, me, and btc.com/feed us. If you want to help us get some food or some beer or whatever, you can support us there. You donate per episode and you get perks. That's obviously the biggest thing. Once we hit certain goals, we're going to be doing perks for patrons only. So a reminder that's a thing. Okay, guys, here's the best part for tonight. Every night, this is my favorite one. The poll. This is at the bottom here. The question is ETH screwed after the recent congestion and the flash crash? What do you guys think? Is it done? Is it no longer, a Bitcoin rival? Or no, still doing great, and the price is still showing it's dropped, but it's still doing decent. Or, if you're unsure, you can say meh. This is at the bottom here, guys. The place to be tonight. You, me, and btc.com/live. So, Tim, I'm going to put that to you. What do you think about this flash crash? What does it? Well, all right. Actually, we should do some backstory. Do you know what caused it, Tim? I don't know if you read or if I explained it to you or what. Do you know what caused it?
There were a couple ICOs and transactions piled up all together, and the network pretty much just shut down from, I guess, it was like too much traffic at one time.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Oh, I should have pulled up a chart. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, they're
basis accusations with nothing back into it. But okay. He's saying 21 million, and then I had to look up because I had to look up what an ICO is again because I don't recognize it by name. But there were a couple ICOs where people were trading Ethereum over for that or selling back, and then people were also trying to get from Bitcoin and out, or trying to get into Bitcoin, and it all
right
jammed together.
Yeah. It was kind of a cascading thing.
That's what it always happened, because then halfway into it, people are like, oh, it's going down. Now we all have to sell it.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to I did find this chart. So I'm actually going to turn on my screen share again. This is transaction volume, as far as I can tell anyway. Yeah, total transactions. So yeah, there's the chart. This is, roughly year to date, past 6 months or whatever. And yeah, it climbed quite a bit, and there were spikes at certain times mostly for ICOs. All right, I mean, whenever on Ethereum, so that's something I don't know if we talk about Ethereum now and then, but I don't know if we ever quite explain this. Ethereum has the functionality for tokens that run on top of Ethereum, just like there are some tokens that run on top of Bitcoin. And so a lot of people do that. Whenever they create a coin, some people choose to run them on Ethereum. And then they try to sell a whole bunch of them all at once and hype up a ton. Geez, there's so much marketing thrown into these ICOs, and a lot of it works. So a lot of people try to buy coins all at the same time, because the idea is you want to get in as early as possible before it sells out. I mean, the more hype there is, whether it's real hype or fake hype, you'll start to expect the price to climb, and you're going to want to get in as early as possible before it sells out. So anyway, that's happened several times over Ethereum's history, but especially so this week. There were, I think multiple big ICOs going on at once, and everything just got jammed. That's about the long and the short of it. It's just ICOs and jam. So yeah, that led to the cascade that I was talking about, where people got worried. Well, this is a theory anyway. They could have sold for any reason, but theoretically they sold because there was congestion, right? So then more people sold, and then more people sold. Now here's where, all right, I'm going to flip over to this Reddit post once again. The second I turn off my screen share, I want to show what's on my screen. There's a Reddit post about somebody who said a good chunk of his ether sold at 10 cents each. Now, right now, the price is over 300, roughly 325, call it. And how does this happen? How did this guy sell his ether at 10 cents? Well, I can explain it, but just for kicks, I want to see what Tim's prediction is. What do you think, Tim? How'd this go down? I don't know if you're muted or something. Yeah, you're definitely still muted.
Oh, sorry about that, folks. I was checking this microphone that never actually works correctly.
Yeah, it is kind of meh again, but whatever.
Well, that's because I just came back out. You're mad too. Okay, everybody's mad. We're all mad.
Okay.
Okay, what I just kind of looked at what happened on the screen, but basically, and what happens a lot, and I was always kind of worried about this stuff, even with Bitcoin, where it's like you set, all right, sell this or buy this, whatever you set this for, and it's automated a lot because you can't deal with one of these shares. So then you set whatever, sell it highest, and then if highest is 10 cents at that time, it's gonna happen. I mean, it's shitty, but I think it's the reliance on like a program doing it, which then the program can't go, oh, this is 10 cents. This doesn't make any sense. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I pulled up the other link that we have, the kind of story that we're covering, and this is the GDAX blog. This is where the crash kind of initiated and went probably the lowest. Now, yeah, basically what they say is there was a multi-million-dollar market sell. Holy crap, that's a lot of sell. And it resulted in orders being filled from $317 all the way down to $224. Now, the way that works, that's before we get into this craziness. That's just down to $224. But the reason that price drops when you sell, somewhat obviously to some people, but just in case it's not too clear, that happens because there's only so many people selling coin at 317.81. If you're looking at my screen here, that's where it started. There's only so much coin available at that price. So if you're trying to sell multiple millions of dollars worth of Ethereum, you're going to sell some at 17.81, and then you're going to run out. So then you're going to sell some at 317.80, and then you're going to run out of those. So you're going to sell a little more at 317.79, and you get the picture. So as you're trying to sell more and more, the price lowers. That's how markets work. So the natural drop for that multi-million-dollar order would have been down to 224.48. That's almost $100 drop. Okay, fine. So how did it get down to 10 cents? And that's kind of what Tim was saying is the computers kick in, and these are called stop loss orders. So what you can do with on a market, usually depending on what features they offer, but most markets will offer you a stop loss feature. And what that does is you can say, if the price starts falling, if it you know, I don't want to keep losing money. If it falls a lot, then I want to sell because I don't want it to keep falling. At least if I don't want to
It's a risk.
continue holding it.
It's stopping you from losing too much money. And I only know this because I literally just looked up what exactly stop loss was. So stop loss would have actually helped this guy, unless you have a reason why that wouldn't have worked.
No, so there's a couple different kinds of stop loss, and that's what screwed him over here. The reason it screwed him over is because, well, there's two different kinds. There's stop limit and stop loss. Geez, look at me trying to act like I know all about these markets. I mean, I do know the definition, so I'm going to do my best to explain them, but I'm definitely not a market expert by any means. I'm not like a
people.
What's that?
You're a market advisor. People depend on you just to feed their kids at this point.
Yeah, Tim's being sarcastic for all you lawyers and jurors out there listening to this recording.
Can you actually get brought up on that? No, completely separately, 2 minutes. Could you get brought up on me saying that you are? I mean, you would have to.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess the argument would be just that I didn't correct you, and so someone got confused. I don't know. It would definitely be a factor in the court case or whatever. But okay, yeah. So let me go ahead and explain this. So a regular vanilla stop loss order just says sell. If it hits, okay, so here's the numbers here are 317, then it's dropping all the way down to 224. Let's say I ahead of time, before any of this goes down, I get worried and I say, okay, I'm going to sell at 250 because if it starts dropping lower than that, like I don't even want to be involved. So let's say I go up there, I say I want to sell. If the price hits 250, I want to sell. All right, that's how it works. If the price hits 250, I want to sell. So this multi-million-dollar guy starts selling, and it drops below 250. But here's the problem. Other people have stop loss orders too. And I might not be able to fill my 250 sell order. I might not be able to fulfill my sell order at 250. There might not be enough buyers at 250. And the way that this order is set up is that it doesn't care. If the price is below 250, it's just going to try to sell. And other people are just going to try to sell. And other people are just going to try to sell. And it just goes on and on. So the price continues to drop. And this stop loss order doesn't care what the price is. It just says sell because it's below 250. And that's where the problem kicks in. So tons of people had stop loss. They say about 800 stop loss orders kicked in. And they all just said sell. They didn't care what the price was. They just said sell and sell and sell all the way down to 10 cents. Did I lose you? For some reason, my TV flashed. I don't know why that happened.
I mean, your voice got a little bit quieter for a second. But yeah, the whole, like you're saying, the whole thing is that it happened too quickly, I guess. It sounds like was he asleep when it was happening? Because it sounds like he checked it like a couple hours later.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if he was asleep, but yeah, no. But the whole point of a stop loss is so that you don't have to keep watching, so that it will automatically place a sell order if the price goes to X price. Now, there's some chat going on here. Thanks for joining us, guys. Somebody in here, where was it? And who was it? Oh, Mr. Hires. Thanks for joining us. He says a regular stop sells at any price. And that's true. That's what I just explained. A regular stop, even though it might have kicked in at 250, if there wasn't anything available at 250, it would have just sold lower and lower and lower. So that's a regular stop. Now, the opposite, or not the opposite, but the other option is a stop limit, where like I said, if I'm trying to sell off at 250, what that order does is it automatically, once the price drops below 250, it automatically puts a sell order in for 250. And that one does care what the price is. So it says, I'm only going to sell at 250 or above. If the price continues to drop, I guess I'm stuck still. But, you know, if I'm going to put an order in for 250 and that somebody has to accept it. If they don't accept it, I don't sell. It's got to be 250. That's how a stop limit order works. Some people argued that he could have protected himself by using a stop limit order because it would have had to sell it at 250 with is our sample number here. The problem is that what if it did keep crashing? What if he didn't get that 250 order fulfilled and it stayed low forever? Well, then you're really screwed. Your stop loss didn't work, right?
I don't understand why if you can go with a stop limit, you would ever go with a stop. Just set the stop limit like super low or something, like put it like $100 or maybe even just like 15 instead of going like you're literally selling it for 10. If you make the stop limit, like
why would you set it at $10? You're trying to sell at 250. You don't want to sell at $10.
I know I know you're trying to sell at 250. I'm saying, well, okay, no, I'm talking from a position of like you're trying to hold this at a certain amount.
Right, but the whole point.
I wasn't. Yeah, go.
The whole point of a stop loss is to try to get rid of it if it starts crashing. Now,
can't you have something where it will sell at the highest, but you can also have something if it goes below $50, don't sell it anymore. Like still sell it at like that, but if it like don't have it set it so it goes down to zero, like have it be like $50 so you don't get completely fucked over.
Okay, yeah, there probably is a term for that. I don't know if many exchanges offer that, but yeah, there's got to be a term for, you know, it's like a stop loss where like
he said something at trigger. He's calling it that same Mr. Hires. He says you can set the trigger at 250, but the limit at 200.
Okay, right. So yeah, so the idea there would be if it gets below 250, that's when your order kicks in. But your order is for a different number. Your order could be for, say, 10, like you said, $10 or more. So right, you can set a stop loss order and have a minimum and still have a minimum sell price. So yeah, I guess that must be a thing. It seems logical. And yeah, at the very, very least, this guy still would have been screwed, but at least he would have sold for $10 instead of 10 cents. I mean, that's 100%, or no, that's a factor of 100 different. So yeah, you're right, Tim. That would be better, is to say, start this order at 250 or whatever, but don't sell for less than $10. Yeah, that sounds like a fix. And if anyone has the option to do that, that's probably the advice that most people would give, is to use an order like that. Okay. There was something else I wanted to add. Oh, yeah. Here's the issue with this kind of order that I've heard people bring up. It's an interesting theory, and well, okay, this has come up on the show recently too. Conventional wisdom says buy low and sell high. A stop order, whether it's stop loss or whatever, does the exact opposite. It literally says if the price drops, sell. That's exactly how a stop order works. So there are people out there, and I think I would be among them, but like I said, I'm not involved in this kind of trading too much, and I don't really want to be. But there are a lot of people out there that would say, this is messed up. Like, why would you say that, oh, I lost money, now I'm going to sell? Right? There are a lot of people that would say that's backwards. I don't have a strong opinion, but I would tend to agree with them for that. What do you think, Tim? Was this guy an idiot for having a stop loss order in the first place?
I think that unless it was on that market just as easy to set up whatever we were talking about, where there's a trigger to at one level and it actually stops it at another. I don't see how or what, like if you had that option, I don't see why you didn't do that. It seems like maybe he wanted to keep a hold of them, but then at least just don't set the limit at something then, or maybe he just wasn't paying attention at all. I don't know if you're going to do it like that, like maybe doing it that way helps the sales in some way I'm not even thinking about. But if you're going to do that, you have to pay attention then, because you could just lose. Like, how much money did he lose?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. This guy said on the Reddit post, he said $3,000 in a matter of seconds. And I laughed at that because that happens all the time. Like, seriously, I get that it sucks that you sold at 10 cents, but $3,000 is nothing for crypto traders. There are a lot of people that have lost a lot more than $3,000 doing this kind of trading. That's my first thing is chill out, dude. But I'm not saying it doesn't suck. But what'd you say?
That's just like the Bitcoin price. Sometimes you have any more than just one Bitcoin, you say, "Oh fuck, I'd have 5,000 more." Oh, it's down 10,000. Oh, what?
Yeah. I saw some of that today with the Bit Crystals price. It jumped about 10 cents in a matter of hours, and that can mean a lot of money for some people. So that's just one coin. There's tons of people using all kinds of coins like this with prices that move like this. So yeah, it can happen. So if $3,000 was a real problem for you, then you probably shouldn't have had it in crypto. That's something that I almost don't need to make a disclaimer for that. I'm not a financial advisor. I almost don't even care. Like, that's still my advice is, don't invest more than you can afford to lose. We say that all the time. So I don't need to be a financial advisor to feel comfortable with that advice.
Well, treat it like a gamble, but you don't, like, if you're going to gamble, you try to do it. It's, well, I mean, most people don't actually. Most people go to the casino and go, I'm just going to bet. I'm definitely going to lose. But like, if you want to engage in something where you think you might make a little bit more money, but the odds are kind of stacked against you, it kind of pays to just pay a lot of attention or just be smart about it and be like, yeah, like if you're going to lose 3,000 and you're going to be like, oh, like, don't have it in Ethereum.
Right.
How much has it jumped up in the past?
Well, that's true too. Like I mean, it depends. Maybe he really did lose 3,000, but there's a good chance that he originally invested maybe 1,000 and then the price tripled. And then he claimed that selling at 10 cents was a loss of 3,000. There's a good chance that his original investment was less than that. But at the same time, I get it sucks. It does suck. I'm sorry, but hey, there's another good chat here because this is an important factor that I didn't quite bring up. Richie DK, thanks for joining us. He says GDAX, which is the exchange where this happened, GDAX does not specify if stop orders are time priority based or price based. Now, that's a factor because, like I said early on in the show, well, if a bunch of stop orders get kicked in and the price, if a bunch of stop orders kick in and they don't care, and they don't have a minimum price set, then it's just, let's say 100 people had a stop order set at $250. Well, it's going to drop below that, and all of their stop orders are going to kick in. So the question is, which one gets filled first? All right, let's use some easy numbers here. Let's say that all these 100 people were trying to sell one Ethereum. All of them had their stop set at $250. The other side of the spectrum, there was one person willing to buy at $250. There was one person willing to buy one Ethereum at $249. There was one person willing to buy one Ethereum at $248, and so on. So there's 100 people that offer to sell starting at $250, but only one gets bought at a time. One gets bought at $250, one gets bought at $249, one gets bought at $248, and so on. So the question is, who gets their order filled first? Because all of them kick in at the same time, but out of those 100 people trying to stop sell, who gets their order filled at $250, and who gets their order filled at $249, and who gets their order filled at $248, and so on? That's a question, right? And he says that GDAX doesn't specify. All I'm trying to say is that that's a very big factor, and somehow this guy got stuck at the end of the line and had to sell at 10 cents. They could be time-based. In fact, I would imagine that's really the only way you could decide. If everyone has it set at 250, I mean, it almost has to be time-based. Like, what else are you going to decide on, right? But anyway, I just wanted to mention that that's a very big factor, that somehow this guy got stuck at the end of the line. I'm sorry, dude. Did what I just explained make sense, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, as much as it can in your drunken stupor right now.
I literally have had like 3 tablespoons of this. So, all right.
Who besides a drunk is measuring alcohol in tablespoons?
Well, I was just trying to think of a really small measurement. Like what else? A couple ounces, I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
I've had a few fluid ounces. No, no, I'm trying to cover your ass again, because then if you say you're drinking, then no one can take what you say as far as being like marketably advice. Anyway, yeah, it makes sense. Maybe don't use that market, or maybe. I mean, it's we're kind of like, why the fuck didn't you do this? But this is pretty, like, it was a pretty big event in the market, so it's kind of like, why weren't you preparing for the absolute worst thing?
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I wouldn't be really prepared for this either. I mean, if I was trading a lot, and if I had a reason to do stop orders, I probably wouldn't, until I got screwed like this. Originally, I'd be like, okay, I know a stop loss order, or I know a stop limit order is better, but this exchange doesn't offer it. Who cares? I'm just going to put in the order. I'll be fine. That would be what I would say. I don't day trade. But yeah, just like you said, Tim, until you get screwed, you're not really worried about the worst case scenario. Anyone could have done this. Anyone could have just been like, all right, this is my favorite exchange. They only offer stop loss orders, not stop limit orders. Whatever. I'll be fine. So yeah, that could totally happen. Hey guys, before we keep going, I want to remind all of you to check out me, and btc.com/live. We got some good chat going on. We got Just Me in the chat. We got Mr. Hires. He says that ETH is worth just $1. Just Me says it reminds him of
Gox.
OG Bitcoiner right there. But yeah.
Hey, it's just OG got his money taken from him.
Huh? What?
Never mind.
OG scammy.
Yeah, no, it was that. It was a bad attempt. I apologize. I'd feel bad, but some dude just lost like $3,000 in Ethereum, so I don't feel that
bad. Yeah. So hey guys, again, thanks for jumping in there. I hope everyone will. Don't forget all the other stuff there. It's me, and btc.com/live. And we got all kinds of stuff. Links if you want to check out the stuff we're covering. The poll at the bottom, that's pretty essential. I will get to the results momentarily once I can find them, and we'll see what people said. The question is, do you think that Ethereum is screwed after all this hoopla or whatever, you know? And okay, so wait, actually, I didn't actually put it to you, Tim, yet. I mentioned it at the beginning, and then I said we got to give the backstory. So I want to ask you what you think, and then we'll check the results. But one last thing, everyone, if you're willing, if you got a half calorie to click a button, if you could hit a share button or a thumbs up or a comment, all that would be great. A retweet, anything you can do for us, wherever you're watching or listening, we'd love some support. So on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, send it out to some tweets or whatever, and let us know what you think. But all right, Tim, what do you got for us? What do you think? Is Ethereum screwed?
Donations. I think that it's definitely not good for it. I'll say I'll be John. I'll use John's approach. It's not good for it, but I don't think it's actually going to die. My personal view is I don't think it's going to kill it, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure a lot of like smarter people are like, yeah, this is bad. But with the way everything's gotten so partisan as far as coins go recently, so it's just as bad as any other news where the people are like, see, this proves that, and I'm like, but you can make that argument about anything. I can say that Bitcoin's fucked up. So I'm like, smarter people are probably like, yeah, this is bad, get out of it. But I know that I'm not necessarily dealing with smarter people who are also going to be investing in it, because I don't really care if it goes. I like seeing how the I guess I like seeing how the experiment goes, so I don't want to see it die, but I'm also not actively using it,
Right.
and I'm not someone who's like, we need. I'm not as into and not as supportive of like of stuff like Ethereum as some other people are, because I just don't have that. This is going to change the world, make everything different. I'm like, it probably will, and it's just going to end up. It's not as crazy. I think Ethereum's still going to be around. People are still going to support it, but this is definitely something where anyone who's against it is going to be able to say, see, this happens. That's why Ethereum sucks.
Right. So, yeah, I really love your first point there about the partisan news and how not, people's views of events like this are skewed based on their biases. Obviously, that's everybody and every bit of news, anytime, anywhere, in crypto and out of crypto. Everyone's biased. Sure, I am too. So I'm sorry. Whatever, let me know in the chat what I'm being biased about right now. But I still like your point, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot over the past few days, and I definitely should share it on the show. There was a tweet that was something like, so Ethereum got a bunch of congestion and started having issues. And I saw a couple tweets that said something like, if Ethereum doesn't work at scale, it doesn't work at all. So they were bashing Ethereum like, see, we told you so. It's not going to work. Come back to Bitcoin. The problem is Bitcoin doesn't work at scale right now either. And everyone knows it. Yeah. So they're like trying to bash altcoins to defend Bitcoin when Bitcoin has the exact same problem. Yes, Ether is worse. Ether's blockchain is bigger, and it's not even super widely used yet. And there's, everyone talks about what it could be used for, and that would make it so much worse. So much worse. You're correct. You're correct that Ethereum does not work at scale, and that might suggest that it doesn't work at all for the time being. Or that it, yeah, obviously it does work. I mean, people can send transactions. It might take a while or whatever. So it does work, but you might argue that because it doesn't work well at scale, then it's not worth using. It doesn't work well enough to even consider. That could be an argument. But the problem is that exact theory applies to Bitcoin. And it has serious issues right now. Pretty much every transaction is got to be at least $1.50, usually over $2 to get a reasonable transaction time. I'm sorry, I'm talking about transaction fees. You've got to pay about $2 to get a reasonable transaction time. So Bitcoin is not working at scale right now. I'm sorry. I know we're a Bitcoin podcast, and maybe you don't think we should say stuff like that, but it's true. For it, I think it'll be fine.
What it is at scale is that's the problem with anything, because we have so many different people talking about it, and then just because of the nature of us just saying at scale, that what is at scale? What scale are we like? Bitcoin works. Ethereum did work for a little bit, but it's like, how big does it get before you can, regardless, either Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything? What is that scale? Like, it doesn't have to be used by every single person. There is no, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like half the news stuff, it's absolutely useless. It's just fueling people sitting behind a desk just typing out stuff, and that's the entire reason why they write the article. They don't write the article because it's important. They don't write the article because they feel about it. They don't write the article because they actually have a well thought out opinion. They go, I need to get this out because everyone else is doing this, because there's so many more people writing articles now, because we're losing where, I mean, it's the internet, so that was already making problems, but it was still like a lot of the times, even when we would cover articles, it'd be like Business Insider or Fox.
Right.
I mean,
right.
It's us seeing it, but now we look at like Medium stuff or things where it's not as thought out, or even there's just blog posts. So everything comes down to this opinion, and then as soon as you bring an opinion in, you can make up whatever argument you want from there.
Right. Yep. Yeah. No, you're right. Like I said, everyone's biased. Every little blog, including ours, is going to have predispositions. Wow, I got that right, I think. predispositions for trying to they're going to take the facts and try to make them suggest, you know, opinions. You know, Ethereum has problems, and they try to make it suggest that Ethereum can't work, doesn't work, won't work, don't work, whatever. And they try to make it suggest an opinion that Bitcoin is better and stuff like that. So I'm going to jump back to the chat real quick. We got some good stuff. Well, some people are talking about SegWit. We're going to get to that.
They were talking about Litecoin before.
Yeah, just me asked about Litecoin. It's yeah, somebody said it's a Bitcoin clone. And I generally agree with that. It was a cool idea. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad altcoins became a thing, starting with Litecoin. But I don't really see how it would ever be better than Bitcoin. I mean, it's just Litecoin. I don't know. They would have to.
One point that someone makes is that it's kind of like if Bitcoin gets fucked up whenever we start messing with it, like what we're possibly going to talk about, or what we are going to talk about, Litecoin could, even if it isn't eventually bigger, there might be a surge. So I guess if you're investing in it, put money in it. Put all your money into it. I definitely look like a trader here in my like weird ass pineapple shirt.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for using the chat, guys, and keep doing that. Yeah, I don't know about Litecoin, but yeah, SegWit. We're gonna get to that momentarily. Another quick reminder: this is you, me, and btc.com/live. Make sure you jump in the chat there and hit some share buttons or whatever. But I promised you these poll results, at least so far, where we're at. What do you think of this, Tim? 20 out of 41 votes, that's a pretty good number for us. 27% say yes, Ethereum is screwed after all this hoopla. And so what does that come out to? About 10 people out of 40 said that, yeah, Ethereum is screwed. Half of them, about 20, said Ethereum will be fine. And another quarter, roughly 10, said that, you know, just didn't vote, really. They said meh. But yeah, so twice as many people think it's going to be fine as think it's screwed. So, okay, that, you know, most people think it'll be fine. That's a pretty important number to consider. Yeah, and it's here's what I was thinking earlier. Even before we started the show, we had a decent number of votes here. Your sphere is probably more heavily biased towards Bitcoin. Just because 100 times we said on the show, I just never really got involved in Bitcoin for whatever reasons. My Twitter followers often love Bitcoin and aren't too worried about Ethereum or don't have time for Ethereum. Not everyone. I have plenty of Twitter followers that love Ethereum too. But my point is, I think my followers prefer Bitcoin. And the fact that despite that, now these aren't all my followers. People can retweet and share or whatever. So, you know, it's not a perfect example. I guess they could even vote just for, I guess, if they see this poll in a hashtag or something. I don't know. Anyway, still, my whole point is I would expect more people to say that, yes, Ethereum is screwed. And despite that, more people said, no, Ethereum will be fine. So there we go. That's all I'm trying to say is most people think Ethereum will be fine, and it's probably even higher than that given my following. So that's it. That was a slow explanation for a simple point. I think a lot of people think Ethereum's going to be fine, and that's kind of what Tim said too. So
I don't know, man. I think it's because you've been courting the more like the public Bitcoin people, like the ones who are all about registering the different addresses, man, because you're just giving up and selling out, man. I think that's who's following you on Twitter. I think that's also the people who are voting. No, I mean, I would make the counter argument. I think that if you're looking at the Yumi and BTC Twitter feed, I would say you're more likely to support Ether than be against it.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, we say we don't talk about them, but we do talk about them a decent amount. We don't just talk about Bitcoin. And if you're just like completely just into Bitcoin, you're probably not listening to podcasts about. I mean, you might be, but if you're just Bitcoin and you're like you don't care about any other ones, you're probably not like, oh wait, you mean BTC put out this new dope poll, which I want to apologize. I meant to say something earlier. This is the first time we finally broken Daniel, and he didn't include one of his classic "I want to blank your blank" jokes. So I'm thankful for that. Unless you already quit that last week.
No, yeah, it's not the first time. I've done it a few times, or I've not done that a few times. But yeah, you broke me.
But I mean, yeah, never mind. I finished my point.
All right, cool. So that means time for story number 2. Now, this is a fun one because, not really because of the story, but because I realized something about it right before we started. Yeah, I've been following this all week, keeping up with SegWit2x. Yeah, big change of subjects here. We're on to SegWit2x now, guys. Thanks for hanging with us. We love you. Couldn't do this without you. That's dead serious. But yeah, SegWit2x. Now, I've been following this all week, like I said, and sorry, distracted by the chat. I'd like to flash crash your ether. Yes, I bet you would. Okay, sorry. The funny thing about SegWit2x is, until this week, I didn't even know, or at least I didn't even remember it. I had forgotten about it, if I had even heard about it in the first place. Because we did an entire episode on it. I was trying to figure out, how did that happen? Because, like, where did SegWit2x come from? How did I miss it? And then how did we do a whole episode about it, and I forgot it? I realized it's because Tim did the episode by himself. I had a couple busy Thursdays recently, and Tim covered SegWit2x all by himself. But here's where it gets even more interesting. I can almost promise you that he knows nothing about it. So, Tim, what do you know about SegWit2x? I'm putting you on the spot.
I remember about as much as you do. SegWit2x though, but right. I don't know what SegWit2, like, I don't know if it's a different iteration of it. I just know that it's people talking about getting the. Oh yeah, no, I do remember. Okay, they basically said they took the amount of hash rate or hash power that they need down to 80%. And they basically took away some of the limitations from starting it, because they're like, we need to do it and we can't wait for someone else to. That's right. What I remember. I think I remember talking, because I was like, they're just like, we need to eventually do it. We can't keep on waiting for people. Like, we need to get the code perfect. So I think they took down some limitations to bring it in.
So yeah, that's correct. I think SegWit2x was the agreement that decided to reduce it to 80% instead of 95% consensus. But actually, the bigger thing, I'm assuming, I don't know why this wouldn't be the case. I'm assuming it's called SegWit2x because part of the agreement is that within 6 months after SegWit activates, we will also get 2 megabyte blocks. So that's why it's called SegWit2x, because it includes SegWit and it includes 2 megabyte blocks. But yeah, okay. I believe you're also correct that this is also the agreement that reduced the consensus necessary to activate SegWit from 95% down to 80%. Now, there's some even some more technicalities there, which I will briefly cover, but other people can cover them way more sophisticatedly, if that's what you're going for. But there was a bit of a conflict there, because the way that people signal for whether it's the original 95% SegWit, which was BIP 141, I believe. I'm not going to try BIP numbers. I'm not going to get the BIP numbers right. But anyway, the way that people signal support for these features is by just adding some bits in the blocks that they mine. Or parts of the blocks that they mine, whatever. Like I said, look for more technical stuff if you need it. But the conflict was that the original SegWit used bit 1 as a signaling mechanism. So if you supported the original SegWit, you would look at the first bit and wherever you had room to put in data, you would look at the first bit and make it a 1 instead of a 0. That's what a bit is, a 0 or a 1. Original SegWit used bit 1. SegWit2x used bit 4, I believe. Again, the numbers might not be exactly right. The point is there was a conflict there. So also just some other stroke of genius, somebody worked out another plan where I'm sure he deserves more credit than I'm giving him, but I don't remember his name. Whatever, again, there's more technical stuff out there if you want it. This article that I'm sharing here is from Jimmy Song. I think this is the 3rd week in a row that we're covering an article from Jimmy Song, because he's doing pretty well with this whole UASF, UAHF, and now NYA storyline.
He's the only one who can keep them all together in his head. Everyone else,
I know, I know all these BIP numbers and
why is the Air Force fighting New York University?
yeah. Anyway, so somebody came up with a plan that said basically that they would. Okay, geez, like I said. Anyway. The original SegWit said that over the course of 2016 blocks, all right, so over 2016 blocks, 95% of them had to support SegWit via bit 1. And if they did, then after another 2016 blocks, it would activate and become effective. SegWit, the original. SegWit, the fix here basically said that, well, then there was the UASF and all that. The fix here that kind of combined SegWit2x with the original SegWit really says that they shortened, it's no longer 2016 blocks because that's too many. They shortened it to 366. Shoot. Again, I don't care about the real number. They shortened it to a couple hundred blocks. And they said that after 80% of those couple hundred blocks, signal for SegWit2x, or, this idea, then after another couple hundred blocks, just like the original, they said after another 2016, and it's the case with this new thing, after another couple hundred blocks, they would force people to signal for SegWit. So that's how it works. And then once they're forced to signal for SegWit, then eventually there's 2016 blocks, and then another 2016 blocks, and then it activates. That was a terrible explanation, but even Jimmy Song, I watched a video with him. It is such a hard concept to describe on video or in any case. So I'm doing my best here. But yeah, so there's a couple hundred blocks to force SegWit signals, and then there's 26. Let me back up one more time. Here we go. This is the one. There's a couple hundred blocks to signal support for forced SegWit signaling. After another couple hundred blocks, that forced SegWit signaling kicks in. It's activated. Everyone is forced to signal SegWit, or they are orphaned off of the chain. That lasts for 2016 blocks, 2016 blocks. And presumably by that point, we'll have 95% support. Actually, it would kind of have to be 100% because anyone that's not signaling support won't go into the blockchain. So during the first 2016 block period, we're going to have 100% support for the original SegWit. So that's going to get accepted, and then another 2016 blocks later, it'll get activated. Holy crap. Please say something, because I've been trying to describe this for too long, and I don't know how well I did. What the heck I'm saying making sense, Tim?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, the whole thing has kind of been, because it's all about I have trouble with certain things in cryptocurrency stuff, and a lot of that ends up being when it's this kind of stuff where you have to decide how something is allowed to run. I don't normally understand that too well, but as far as you're saying, it sounds pretty good. No one's completely just shouting at you in the chat, so I think you're also pretty good.
All right, I'll take that.
But yeah.
So basically, there's two phases. The first phase forces you to signal SegWit. And then once that happens, SegWit is obviously, it has to be signaled or it won't happen, and then it gets activated. That was the new decision. 80% comes in, forces people to signal SegWit. Then once it's going to be 100%, which is more than 95%, which means the original SegWit will be activated. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Okay, yeah, no, see, NY Cartoons is giving you a pass. He's saying it's too hard to describe for you in a short period of time.
Thank you, NY Cartoons. You're one of our biggest fans. We also got 21 million club.
No, now we have to be. We will figure out a way to do it. But
oh yeah, Just Me says this is an important concept for all forks or all decisions made on the blockchain. SegWit, whether it's SegWit or SegWit2x, signaling and running, or I would say activating, are two different things. And that's something that even the experts didn't really start talking about, this differentiation, until recently, when it became so important for all this SegWit stuff. But there is a difference between signaling support for SegWit or SegWit2x or whatever, and actually activating it and running it. So that's just something that's worth mentioning, because, you know, like I said, that whole explanation I was trying to give, I was saying, you know, there's one period of 2016 blocks where it's signaled, and if it's accepted, there's another period of 2016 blocks, and then it's activated. So they are a different thing, and that is a huge factor in all of these decisions that are being made. So,
it just makes it longer and more annoying.
What? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's crazy stuff. Like I said, even the experts didn't realize how important the signaling mechanisms would be until recently, because they figured, oh, you either SegWit or you don't SegWit. But how do you decide? You know, what mechanism do you on the blockchain? What mechanism do you use to decide if people want SegWit or don't? You got to figure out a signaling mechanism, and that's.
Yeah,
I'm not saying the signaling. I'm not saying the experts didn't use. You know, obviously, SegWit signaling has been around for over a year now, and they used it for other stuff too. They had signaling mechanisms. I'm just saying that even the experts didn't emphasize the difference as much until it became so important these last few months.
What, they've been around? You said it's been around for about a year. Is there a comparable or something like that they could base it off of easily? Because even then it hasn't been around for that. My point being, they're dealing with completely new shit. Like, it's completely untouched waters. They don't really have anything else to go off of. And normally people who write code, especially if you're doing it with other people with money on top of you, aren't going to be like, yeah, let's go quick, because it's more.
Are you asking if there's other options for signaling mechanisms? Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, I was more asking, like, how much time have they had to. That's part of the question. How much time have they had to, like, deal with? Have we just people? And how much time have we spent actually using this kind of technology already? Okay,
so that's a good one. Like I said, they've used signaling mechanisms for, you know, at least one or two forks in the past, years back. In this case, the amount of time available to come up with this special 80% plan, the way to, like, you know, regular SegWit requires 95%, but we're going to make a new thing that says 80%, and then we're going to force SegWit, is, you know, very new. It came up in the past 2 months or so. Now, your timing comment is pretty important, because it's worth giving UAHF some credit for forcing the issue. All right, whether you love or hate UAHF, you got to give them credit for forcing the issue. They said, we've had enough of this. August 1st is our date. Figure it out by then, right? And, you know, I get a lot of people said that's risky. Like, well, why would you force it? Like, why would you try to coerce the network into doing X, Y, or Z by forcing something. And the fact is, they didn't use physical force. They just used their ideas, their mouths. They said, "Hey, we got to figure something out, and we're gonna start behaving this way on August 1st. You can either join us or not." And they forced the issue, and everyone said, "Well, crap, I better join them, or I'm going to be screwed." So I say the word force. They did force the issue. I think they did a great job of it. And it worked out, really. The miners said, "Crap, we got to get on board here. We got to make a compromise." That's where SegWit2x comes in. And even if you hate UAHF, you got to give them some credit for forcing the issue, I think, without not the violent kind of force. But
I mean,
what do you think of that, Tim? You give them credit?
I didn't like it. I probably had the same thing as you, but I do I understand the argument that people, and this is separate from Bitcoin. I understand the argument that people make where they're like, you can't call someone something, or why we have why I understand the argument of Canada making the law for maybe that's not even the law, but the general idea of misgendering someone or calling them a specific word or anything. I understand how you can argue that is then force, or just like you said, they didn't really force. They used their mouths, which was a weird way of saying it. It was an awkward way of saying it.
No, that's how's that awkward? All I'm saying is that
they forced themselves with their mouths. That's what you said.
All right, that's all right. Fine, whatever.
So I can understand, and I even, because when I was doing the episode, I was apparently none of it was actually getting through because the shitty audio, but I was saying that I was kind of weird about it just because it is almost like you're forcing other people to do it. But if you do start thinking in that way and you say that well, it is force against someone, or it is aggression towards someone with your language or with your expression, then you do get to where you go, well, wait, you can't make that movie because it's offensive to me. You can't make that joke because it's offensive to me. So I don't like it, but I do think it is. Yeah, give them credit because they actually did it. They did something kind of. Again, it has thousands more steps that we have to talk about, but they did accomplish something.
Right. So I got a couple things to say. First of all, the whole idea about using force without violence, that brings up an idea that we actually haven't talked about our Liberty roots in a while because we've been all caught up in this forking news. And our live shows are just more geared towards recent Bitcoin stuff instead of long, philosophical discussions. So I'll toss that out there just as a reminder. We are a liberty-oriented podcast. I put that in every single show note. This is your liberty and Bitcoin podcast. So we have a special affection for the non-aggression principle, and we generally don't. I say generally just to cover my bases, but really, overall, we really don't think that force is a good thing, physical, violent force. So, so I also want to jump back to the chat because just me is on Decred again. He says, "Did you say signaling for Bitcoin is a problem? Check out Decred." Now, first of all, I didn't quite say it was a bad problem. I just meant a problem in terms of something that needs figured out. And they have some solutions. Maybe they could be better. Anyway, check out Decred. Sure. Here's the thing about Decred. I'm going to tell you again. I maybe sort of mentioned this over the past few weeks. I don't know. But I don't have any clue about Decred, and I just don't have time. That's what it really comes down to for me. That's what I've always said really about Ethereum and any altcoins. Bad. I just don't have time to get involved in more than Bitcoin. So that's where I'll leave that. Maybe I'm missing out. I don't know. Thanks for, if anyone else out there, I'm willing to give you a plug for that. If anyone else out there wants to look into Decred, go for it. But I put way too much time into that puzzle, and
he's still pissed.
Yeah. No, it might be great. Well, if it beats out Bitcoin someday, so be it. Eventually, I'll be a user. Okay, NY Cartoons. I agree on the power move forcing the issue. What do you mean you agree? Do you agree that it was forcing the issue? Do you agree with me that it was a good way to force the issue without violence? I don't know.
No, he
21 million
agrees that
clubs.
you should force people with your mouth.
Okay. All right. Good. Maybe that's what we should call our next podcast, Tim. Forcing with our mouth. I mean, that's what you do on a podcast, right? You force issues with your mouth. Force with the mouth. May the force be with you. Okay. All right, guys. I'm showing 7:01 my time, which is 10:01 Eastern time, and we run 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern. So that means we're about time to wrap up. So, but we got one more thing to do, guys, and that's advice of the week. So, shoot, that means we got to figure out advice of the week.
Wait, I'm gonna grab this one real quick. Don't have just a stop loss. But don't invest in Ethereum. Don't invest in Bitcoin. Sit with your money in a hole and just stare at it the entire time so it doesn't get.
That's
taken.
true. You can never lose it if you're staring at it in a hole.
Just watch inflation just go.
Well, yeah, but you still have $100. You know, it doesn't matter about inflation. You still have X dollars.
Those Benjamins.
Oh yeah, how's the way my pockets swell to the rim with Benjamins. That's
that was good.
That's
that flow, man.
Notorious B.I.G. All right.
I watched the movie.
No, it's a song, Tim. What the heck?
I get that. I know.
Old thing back.
It's the best what Biggie said, man.
Oh, hey, I'll take this. 21 Million Club says hodl.
I thought it was hoodle.
And Eric Jones says hodl. So yeah, sure. I'll make that my advice. It really is like, again, this is not actual financial advice. This is just advice of the week. All right. Got to clarify that because all the freaking lock people crap. But yeah, sure. I'll make that my advice because Bitcoin seems to have some good stuff going for it. The price has done fairly well over the past few days. And it's if we get through this scaling crap, like I feel like that's just going to be such a shot in the arm for the community, really. If we seriously end up with a SegWit2x compromise, like what could be better? You get SegWit, you get a little bit bigger blocks. People start working on Litecoin or Lightning Network. Like what could be better? Finally, I know everyone's going to argue anyway, and maybe I'm naive to say that it's going to be perfect. I probably am. But still, I feel like it's all right. Finally, guys, we're going to figure out this SegWit crap. We're going to have slightly bigger blocks, but not too crazy. And we can finally start transacting again. Prices will go down. It'll take several months from now. But geez, I want it to be great. Maybe I'm naive, but I'm going to go ahead and say hodl. I'll take that advice. Hodl. Okay. Don't dump all your Bitcoin into Ethereum at the very least. One thing we didn't mention, I won't get into it, but you know, if you're interested, you could look it up. We didn't even mention it, but one of the issues with this whole Ethereum story was that the Genesis block was moved. The coins in the original Ethereum block were split, actually. They were split into Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. And some people guess that that's what initiated the sell order, the multi-million-dollar sell order. And the assumption there would be that original investors in Ethereum decided to give up on it. So if you want to learn more about that, look it up, but we didn't get to it today. Tim, you got anything else for us? The 21 Million Club says don't buy shit coins. I forgot. I try to say this before we give advice. If anyone else has anything, drop it in the chat and we'll make sure we share your advice too. I'll say again from just me, I appreciate your Decred advice, and I don't have time, but I'll make that his advice to check out Decred. Sure, if you got time, go and see what it's all about. They got proof of stake and governance voting. I believe is one of their concepts. So you can look into some of that stuff. More good coming right before the first. Get ready to buy.
FUD.
I don't know. I don't know if he's talking about Bitcoin or Decred there, but I'm assuming he's talking about the 1st of August, probably, which is when UAHF was supposed to kick in. So yeah, maybe he's talking about Bitcoin. It'll be great. There'll be a great compromise before August 1st. So start buying Bitcoin. Maybe that's what he's saying. Also says Redcoin is going to moon. I don't know anything about Redcoin, but that's what he says.
That's a sexual move. That's a whole kinky thing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a blast. It's been another Thursday night, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern, and we will be right back here next Thursday, presumably. Yeah, I'll be in town. We'll find someone to get on this screen, on this YouTube channel. Make sure you hit some thumbs up buttons, hit some comment buttons. What else we got? Share buttons, tweet buttons, retweet buttons, Facebook buttons, whatever you can find. The place to be, I've been saying you, me, and btc.com/live for the whole episode, but that will every week point to the current episode. So if you want to find this episode in particular, it's you, me, and btc.com/E180. This is E180. And yeah, got another tens digit. So congrats to us. We're shooting for 200 here pretty soon, guys. Holy crap, that'll be fun. We'll see you next Thursday, guys. It's been great. The music that you're hearing right now is from John Stewart. Peace out. We love you.
Hit that LinkedIn button.
Yeah, do that.